The 7 Hermetic Laws can be applied directly to the body to transform wounds in the inner foundation into creative power. There is a somatic grammar inscribed in the pelvis, in the sacrum, and at the base of the feet that can be read and reorganized when you learn to translate the principles of the Kabbalion into the territory where contraction and power are stored in the same structure. Origin and healing are inscribed in you. The contraction that returns every time you try to create, move forward, or sustain presence is a precise vibrational pattern, an arrangement that obeys the same laws that govern subtle planes. And that can be decoded when body and energy field begin to operate under the same hermetic principles. You are going to learn how to apply mentalism, correspondence, vibration, polarity, rhythm, cause and effect, and gender to the foundation that collapses under pressure, reorganizing the base so that it responds with weight and firmness. Each Hermetic law reveals a different layer of closure and a specific path of transmutation inscribed in the body. Stopping this video now means losing the exact moment when your body will begin to register another pattern, the temperature that returns, the pulsation that awakens, the weight that redistributes. The 7 laws are going to show where exactly your foundation lost support and how to rewrite it. The inner foundation is not just physical structure. It is the field where body, nervous system, and vibrational arrangement meet, obeying the same laws that govern subtle planes. When this base is organized according to Hermetic principles, pelvis, sacrum, and lower spine cease to be just bone and muscle and become territory where tension and power are inscribed as living language, as text that can be read and rewritten. Hermetic traditions have always taught that the body is the temple where universal laws manifest in material form. The emerald tablets of Thoth state that what is below is like what is above, revealing that the quality of the base determines everything that can be built upon it. The foundation does not only support the physical body, it supports the capacity to create, to remain, to manifest strength without collapsing under your own power when it begins to move. The foundational wound began as perception, as a mental conclusion about the world that descended into the body and crystallized in muscle, fascia, and bone. Mentalism shows that every deep contraction was born from a form of meaning. Correspondence reveals that inner collapse mirrors external cycles exactly. Projects you abandon, relationships where you pull back, creations that give up halfway through. Vibration shows up as a precise energetic signature, tremor that does not come, absence of pulsation, zones without temperature, regions of the body that have gone mute to conscious perception. Stephen Porges' polyvagal theory demonstrates that experiences of prolonged insecurity reorganize the tone of the vagus nerve, making the body remain in alert or collapse even when the original threat no longer exists. Epigenetics reveals that response patterns become fixed in the body over time, governing posture, breathing, and the capacity to sustain presence. This is the mechanism Hermetists described as mind inscribed in matter, perception that becomes flesh, meaning that becomes somatic structure operating at an ancient frequency. The viewer who feels the base give way whenever life asks for movement is dealing with a foundation that has long obeyed vibrational patterns inscribed there. When you learn to read these wounds as living Hermetic text, applying the 7 laws directly to the body, pain ceases to be inevitable fall and becomes the most precise lever of creative power. There is someone who lived exactly this foundational closure and discovered how to transmute contraction into power through the Kybalion applied to the body. And that person's story will illuminate each principle revealed here. Patricia is 49 years old and has worked as a social worker for 2 decades in a community center, dealing with families in vulnerable situations. Her routine involves heavy stories, decisions that affect lives, conflicts that need to be mediated. For years, she had been trying to understand why. Despite being able to hold so many others, she felt something give way inside herself whenever she needed to take a stand for her own needs or defend her own boundaries. Patricia's pain was somatic and precise. Whenever it was time to say no, to claim space, to sustain a choice that went against other people's expectations, she felt the weight of her body shift backward, as if the base literally retreated. Her breath would rise and get stuck in her chest. The sacrum lost its anchoring. The pelvis locked. She could stand firm for others, but when it came to herself, the inner foundation collapsed even before the external situation demanded collapse. This manifested in episodes of deep exhaustion after any attempt to take a stand, in personal projects she abandoned halfway, in relationships where she gradually gave up territory until almost nothing of herself remained. Patricia had tried integrative body therapy that helped her identify tensions, but did not reorganize the base pattern that was giving way. She did bioenergetic sessions that released old emotions, but the deep contraction in the pelvic and sacral region remained untouched. She practiced yoga for years, strengthened her body, but the feeling that something inside her did not hold continued to return at critical moments. Patricia found this approach through a clinical supervisor who, after hearing her describe for the 10th time the pattern of holding everyone but herself, asked if she had ever considered that perhaps this was not just a psychological issue, but a vibrational arrangement inscribed at the base of the body that could be read through the Hermetic Laws. The supervisor mentioned that she had seen people with similar foundational wounds completely reorganize the way the body responded to pressure when they learned to apply the principles of the Kybalion directly to the somatic areas where contraction was lodged. Patricia felt something resonate. For the first time, someone was naming what she was living as a pattern that had logic, traceable origin, and the possibility of transmutation. The first time Patricia applied the principle of mentalism to her own foundation, placing conscious attention on the sacral region while she breathed and observed how her thoughts about not deserving space corresponded exactly to the micro-contractions at the base. She noticed something she had never felt before. The weight began to redistribute. There was a subtle pulsation returning to the pelvic region. The temperature changed. For the first time in decades, the base was not just reacting defensively, it was beginning to respond. What Patricia discovered in that moment, the exact way to apply mentalism, correspondence, vibration, polarity, rhythm, cause and effect, and gender to the inner foundation, is what you are going to experience now in your own body, step by step, so that the base that collapses under pressure begins to respond with weight, firmness, and creative power. The principle of mentalism teaches that where attention rests, energy follows, and every foundational wound began as a mental conclusion that descended into the body and crystallized as contraction. Placing conscious attention on the base is the first gesture that reorganizes the vibrational pattern inscribed there. Sit or stand now, feeling the contact of your feet with the ground. Notice where the weight does not rest completely, where there is resistance, where the foundation seems to slip or not settle. Place one hand over the lower abdomen or over the sacrum and observe the quality of the inner support. Do not force anything, just feel. Does the breath descend into this region or get stuck above? Does the weight distribute evenly or always tilt to the same side? Does the base respond with firmness or give way even before you ask it for movement? These perceptions are not just observations, they are the beginning of the reorganization, because the body changes when the mind finally sees where it is operating. The principle of correspondence shows that what happens inside mirrors what happens outside. Observe how the thoughts that arise now correspond exactly to the microcontractions at the base. When the mind anticipates collapse, doubt, retreat, the body already begins to give way. The weight shifts subtly backward, the breath rises. This reflex is not coincidence. It is Hermetic law manifested in flesh. Perceive this mirroring without judgment, simply registering how inner and outer are faces of the same dynamic. Now apply the principle of vibration. Breathe with a longer exhale, allowing the air to descend into the lower abdomen, into the sacrum, into the pelvic floor. Allow small waves of heat or tremor to be welcomed instead of interrupted. Locate zones without temperature, areas that seem mute, regions where there is no pulsation. Vibration reveals the energetic signature of the wound, the exact place where the creative force became frozen, waiting for movement to awaken it. Try breathing directly into specific areas. Sacrum, pelvic floor, lower lumbar. Notice the difference between forcing and allowing. Forcing generates more contraction, allowing open space for the nervous system to release what it was holding. Feel when your body accepts the breath and when it resists. The resistance is not an enemy. It is information about where the foundation is still operating under the old pattern, where transmutation needs to happen more gently. If you feel a lot of rigidity at the base, start with minimal, almost imperceptible movements. Small shifts of weight, micro tilts of the pelvis, short breaths that test the territory without invading it. If you feel collapse, lack of tone, start by establishing firm contact with surfaces, pressing your feet into the ground, sitting with full support, giving the body external reference before asking it to organize internally. Each body has its own rhythm of reorganization. Before moving on to the next Hermetic laws, there is something crucial that Patricia discovered precisely at this point in the practice. Something that completely changed how she understood her own foundation and what could be built upon it. Patricia remained there, applying mentalism, correspondence and vibration to the base of the body, placing attention on the sacrum, observing how thoughts and contractions mirrored each other, allowing the breath to descend into zones that had been cold for decades. For the first time in years, the weight was distributed symmetrically. The breath descended effortlessly into the pelvic region. There was heat returning to areas that had been cold for so long she had forgotten they could be different. In the following weeks, Patricia was able to sustain an important decision at work without backing down. She maintained presence in a relational conflict without collapsing. she completed a personal project she had been abandoning repeatedly, not because she felt better, but because the inner foundation stopped giving way under pressure. The base began to respond with real weight, with anchoring that did not depend on constant effort, but on vibrational reorganization that changed the way the nervous system negotiated safety and movement. What Patricia felt in that moment is exactly what is beginning to reorganize in your body now. The same redistribution of weight, the same quality of breath that finally descends, the same temperature returning to regions that were dormant. The inner foundation is registering another pattern, and the next Hermetic laws are going to complete this transmutation. The principles of polarity and rhythm show that the foundational wound oscillates between extremes. Rigidity that exhausts and collapse that dissolves, without ever touching the midpoint where the base can reorganize. Now explore small shifts of weight between shrinking and expanding, without fixing yourself in any pole. Use the breath as rhythm that balances these extremes, exhaling when the body yields, inhaling when it firms, until you find the point where it is neither rigid nor collapsed. Alternate micro-pelvic movements, minimal anterior and posterior tilts, feeling when the nervous system relaxes and when it defends. Allow the natural rhythm to re-establish itself without imposition. The foundation does not need to be forced to sustain. It needs to be reminded how to sustain without collapsing. Each small adjustment teaches the body that there is another possibility, that the base can respond without giving way, that firmness does not require permanent rigidity. The principles of cause and effect and of gender complete the transmutation. Place attention as new cause, knowing that where the mind rests, energy follows, and the body begins to operate under another law. Notice how the base now responds by simultaneously receiving energy from the earth, rooting, drawing weight downward, and projecting creative impulse toward life, allowing the force to rise and move into creation. This double movement, receptive and projective, is Hermetic gender operating in the foundation. The inner foundation now has new information, a new vibrational pattern recorded in the sacrum, in the pelvis, in the lower spine, in the feet that touch the ground. The 7 Hermetic laws have been applied directly to the body, transforming wound into creative power that can be felt, tracked, and sealed. The next step is to consolidate this reorganization so that it remains. The physical marker of this reorganization is inscribed in the body now. The breath descends into the lower abdomen without effort. There is heat present in the sacrum and pelvis. The weight is distributed symmetrically across the feet. The base holds instead of giving way. This is not an abstract sensation. It is a trackable change in how the inner foundation responds when life asks for movement, presence, or creation. To anchor this new state, use a simple gesture that can be repeated in any context. Place your hand over the lower abdomen with slight pressure, or firm the contact of your feet with the ground while you breathe 3 times, directing the exhale to the base. 30 to 60 seconds are enough to reactivate the vibrational pattern that has been reorganized here. This gesture works as a key that opens immediate access to the foundation that now sustains. When you feel the base beginning to give way again, weight shifting backward, breath rising, contraction returning, stop wherever you are. Place attention on your feet touching the ground. Breathe into the sacrum and repeat internally. The foundation sustains, I remain. This instruction is not an empty affirmation. It is a protocol that reactivates the 7 Hermetic laws in the body, reminding the nervous system that another pattern is available, that the base can respond without collapsing. The seal is complete. The inner foundation now carries different information. A vibrational pattern that transforms wound into creative power. And there is something deeper about what this means for everything you can build, sustain, and manifest from here on out. You now carry in your body the understanding that wounds in the inner foundation are not defects to be fixed, but Hermetic language to be read and transmuted. The base that used to collapse under pressure is beginning to respond with weight, firmness, and vibrational circulation. This radically changes what is possible to create, sustain, and manifest from here on out, because the foundation determines everything that can be built upon it. Applying the 7 Hermetic laws to the body does not end here. There is a vast territory of somatic transmutation still unexplored. Other layers of contraction awaiting reorganization. Other principles that can be translated into specific bodily practices. Each Hermetic law reveals a different aspect of how creative force becomes trapped and how it can be released. And what you experience today is only the beginning of this journey of reading the body as a living text where origin and healing are inscribed. Giordano Bruno wrote that the body is the book where the divinity writes itself in characters of flesh. When the inner foundation reorganizes according to Hermetic laws, the body returns to what it always should have been, a temple where the source manifests, not just a structure that carries pain. The transmutation that happened here is not the overcoming of something bad. It is a return to original function, the restoration of the capacity to sustain what the sacred deposits in you. If this content touched something deep in you, leave your like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications to continue this journey. Share it with people you recognize as living with a base that collapses, because this practice can change the way they inhabit their own body. If you want to support the production of more knowledge like this and help reach more people, consider becoming a member of the channel. Write in the comments, "I transform wounds into creation through the Hermetic principles." This affirmation anchors the practice in the body and manifests the reorganization lived here, sealing the transmutation through the word that bears witness. When this video ends, click on the next content that will appear on the screen to continue exploring other techniques and practices available on the channel. Origin and healing have always been inscribed in the same place, in the body that carries both the mark and the map of transmutation. Learning to read this somatic Hermetic language is the path to transforming foundational wound into the strength that sustains everything that is to come. Because when you understand the laws that govern contraction, you master the laws that govern creation.